Alright guys, welcome back to Days of Darkness and welcome to my review for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This one came out in 2003. Keeping it professional. It is starring Jessica Biel and Arlie Ermy and was directed by Marcus Nispel. So, let's get right into it, man, with my obligatory remake discussion. So, I'm sure I've talked about it on the channel before. There's a pretty regular conversation when it comes to remakes in the film community. Not just horror, just in general. We live in a world currently where a lot of classic films are being remade. And nerds are pissed off about it. For whatever reason they have. They don't like their classic movies being touched. And this one's no different. Now, I will freely say, is this movie better than the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre in my eyes? No. No, it's not. I don't think that. The thing is, this is one of those remakes that I really, really do like and really, really do respect. Because in my opinion, which, is just super qualified, in my opinion, there's a way to execute a remake. You look at something like Psycho 98, which is literally a shot-for-shot remake of the original movie with Vince Vaughn. And that's no hate on Vince Vaughn because he's a phenomenal actor, but it's literally just a shot-for-shot fucking remake. No, that's not how you do it. Not even to a degree of like a Rob Zombie Halloween, where like the second half of that movie is just a tread-for-tread remake of the original. Why do I want to watch that? I've seen the original. I know what happens in the original, so I know what's going to fucking happen in this movie. Every once in a while, they'll throw in a little twist here or there that kind of makes it fun. And that's all well and good, but for the most part, a lot of these remakes are just retreads of the original. And that's why I don't typically favor remakes like that. Because it's like I said already, if I wanted to watch the original, I'd just fucking watch the original. What this one does is it pays plenty of homage to the original film while still being its own movie. This is not a retread of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre at all. Are there similar beats? Yeah. Are there similar situations? Yeah, of course. It's a group of kids in a van, and push comes to shove, and they end up in the clutches of a psychotic, hillbilly, cannibalistic family. Like, that skeleton is still there, but all the meat and the skin and the muscles and the pores, it's all different. I really, really respect this film for doing that. It's especially at this point with horror remakes. It's really, really cool to see. It was really, really cool to see this movie take a completely different turn. In a lot of ways. Number one being the opening, and basically our inciting incident into the whole situation. We have our characters who have piled into a van. They're coming back from Mexico, I believe, and they're going to a Leonard Skinner concert. Not like the original at all. They weren't even planning on stopping anywhere to anyone's, like, the Hardesty house or anything like that. They're just going to a concert. They bought a bunch of fucking weed, and they're going to this Leonard Skinner concert, which I thought was really fun. While we're talking about these characters, let's talk about that for a second. Really fun characters. I've said it 1,000 times. These characters don't need to be super in-depth. We don't need to know everything about their backstory or anything like that to still relate to them. And these are just, a van full of young, fun-loving kids. They hook up, one of the guys hooks up with this girl that he met like a day ago, and they're already in the back of the van making out and shit. And, we have our young couple who have been together for a while, and the girlfriend's wanting, Jessica Biel's character, wanting the guy to propose, and, and we have the nerdy guy who's kind of a smart ass, and it's just, Sure, on the surface it might sound a little tropey, but these characters are all very well performed, and they're all relatable. Like, we all had those road trips when we were a kid, you know, driving down the road with our friends. I've done a fair amount of those. And, you know, it's just there's something that feels nostalgic about it. It doesn't feel ham fisted, it doesn't feel artificial. They did very well with what they had, which, albeit, again, it's not a lot. These are not super in-depth characters, but for what we got of them, I thought the characters in this were pretty damn well done, all things considered. So yeah, nice, fun, idyllic little road trip. You know, hot ass, sweaty van. You know, traveling to a Leonard Skinner concert, and then, boom! How did that feel in the ears? That was way louder than I expected. But nah, man. Immediately we get they just get fucking plunged into this situation, which is very contrasting to the original. It was much more of a gradual, you know, a much more gradual decline into madness, especially for Sally Hardesty's character. She doesn't really encounter any evil or anything like that until basically the latter half of the movie. But all of these characters immediately get plunged into a fucking insane situation where they pick up a hitchhiker, and you would expect this person to be a member of the Sawyer family, or in this case, the Hewitt family. We will get into that in a second. Because that is the one change that's a little weird, but moving on. You would expect this person to be psychotic and cut one of the character's arms. No. Completely fucking different. Like I said, paying homage, but a completely different situation. Love it. Alright, I'll stop sucking this movie off for that reason. And let's just talk about the fucking thing. So, they pick up this very young woman. She looks to be early 20s, I'd say. Completely just a fucking emotional, physical wreck. Like, this woman has seen some fucking shit. And once this woman sees, and they're all just kind of like staring at her when they pick her up, like, oh my fucking god. And they pick her up, and she's just back there, and as soon as she sees where they're going, and that the fact that they're going in the wrong direction, you know, they're going back to the evil, she starts freaking out. She's trying to grab the steering wheel and be like, you gotta fucking turn around, I'm not going back there. And then she basically accepts, like, they're not gonna listen to me. And I will save it for kill of the film, spoiler alert, but she kills herself. And immediately these people are just plunged. It has gone from a fun road trip to what the fuck. And as someone who has done a lot of traveling, where every once in a while something would go wrong, not to that fucking degree, ever, but you know, we all have those road trips, and that's usually how it goes, man. It's not a gradual thing. Usually everything's all well and good, and then boom, something terrible or awful or extremely inconvenient happens, and then it just completely shifts everything around, which on a personal note, I really liked that aspect of it. But yeah, man, so these people have to figure out what the fuck to do. They go to this small little shithole town in rural Texas, and yeah, man, we get launched off, dude, and it's a wild fucking ride, dude, with a lot of different twists and turns that, again, you don't expect, because you expect the original, and sure, there are definitely beats of the original in this, but nowhere near what the original was. Let's talk about the villains in this movie, man. Let's talk about the fucking Hewitts. Now, number one, let's just talk about that name change. This was the one thing where I was like, I mean, okay. Like, I guess if you want to do that, do it. But I don't really see the purpose in it. I don't really mind it being a different family dynamic from the original, because every fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie has a different family dynamic. So, what the fuck do I care? And plus, I really like the whole family in this. I think everyone's really cool. I am the gassiest reviewer on YouTube. Put that on your soundboard. Anyways, so these people are absolutely fucking insane. I just don't understand the name change. That's like my only thing. You know, for big fans of the series, let's just start with, you know, basically the name change of the movie, which is Leatherface. Obviously, the character's name is still Leatherface, but this is no longer Jedediah Sawyer. That name is completely wiped away, and this is now Thomas Hewitt. And, you know, I kind of get wanting to make it your own and wanting to be your own movie, but at the same time, the fans know him as Jedediah Sawyer. So to just completely wipe away the name, wipe away the Sawyer family, and have it be a totally different family name, it's like, it doesn't ruin the film. It doesn't make the film awful or whatever, like, whatever people would like to say about it. It's just something that's kind of weird to me, and I don't really understand it. But, hey, it is what it is. Nonetheless, Leatherface in this movie. It's a mixed bag for me. And I'll tell you why, obviously. First of all, the character is very well performed. I forget the gentleman's name, Andrew something. I know his name's Andrew though, so shout out to Andrew, baby. Good Leatherface, man. I know he plays Leatherface in the next Texas movie we'll talk about too, which we'll talk about later. But you know, they definitely went a different direction with the character. Now, I've been very critical of the 4 direct, if you want to call them direct sequels, to the original up until this point, saying they just completely got the character wrong, they totally missed the point. I feel like they know what the Leatherface character is in this movie. In this, he is mostly a gigantic fucking big brute, which is accurate to the original, but he is far more aggressive, like just naturally just vicious in this movie. And in that first one, you really get the sense that Jedediah is killing these people to protect himself and to, you know, feed his family. And he's fucking scared out of his mind. This guy is not scared. He does not mind killing at all. Like, he is totally cool with it. There are moments, though, where we do kind of get little glimpses of that scared little kid that's inside Leatherface. You know, we kind of get that in certain little spurts of the movie. Very blink and you miss it stuff. But you can definitely see it. But for the most part, he is just a gigantic brute that has zero problem killing people. And so, I definitely like Leatherface in this. I don't have any aversion to this version of him, but I don't know. I feel like they kind of missed the boat on him a little bit in certain aspects. That being said, still a very, very solid performance, and overall I like him. I think he has some great moments in the movie. The other Hewitts, I gotta get used to saying that, not Sawyers for these next 2 movies, but the other Hewitts I think are all cool. The mom character I think has some real fun moments. Those 2 women in the trailer, I think, are super fucking creepy. I think they're more akin to that one gas station attendant in Leatherface Texas Chainsaw 3, where they're just kind of associated with the family, and I'm sure they eat people too, but they never really come across as members of the Hewitt family. They're just fucking their psychotic neighbors. I don't know. But they're fun, you know, they kidnap the baby and shit, and, you know, have some tea, honey. They're very creepy in that way. The little kid was a big surprise, because he's a straight-up good guy in this movie. Like, you don't get usually a straight-up protagonist Sawyer or Hewitt or whatever. Typically, they're all just fucking evil. And then there's Leatherface. But no, this kid, like, goes out of his way to help the protagonists, and Leatherface doesn't fucking rip him in half or anything like that, because he's family, so he can't. I thought it was kind of funny to see this little kid, like, foiling Leatherface and shit. I thought it was pretty fun. But easily the one who steals the show, guy in the wheelchair, no legs, can't forget his name, can't remember his name. He's also fun. He's a fucking creep, too. Feeling up on Jessica Biel's butt and shit. And what the hell are you doing in my house? Shout out to that guy, too. Got a little tiny hitchhiker vibes with him. Not anything close to Bill Moseley, but you know what I mean. Or not a hitchhiker, chop chop. Moving on. Even though they're basically the same fucking character in the first place. Anyways. So, definitely liked him, but easily the guy who steals the show for me is Sheriff Hoyt. Sheriff Hoyt. Arlie Ermy. What the fuck can I really say? Like, the dude just gets it. Like, it's all I can really say. And God rest his soul. We were blessed with many awesome performances from him. I know a lot of people say he was typecast, and to a certain extent, I agree. And I think he definitely could have. But, I know that's not the only type of character he's ever played. So it's not like that's all he ever did. But after Full Metal Jacket, he was definitely the strict drill sergeant character. He did the commercials and all that shit. But shout out to Arlie Ermy. Rest in peace, my man. But dude, Sheriff Hoyt is just fucking priceless in this movie. He is my favorite part of this movie. He is... so I'm not gonna just, sit here and we all know the big Sheriff Hoyt moments in this movie, but one of the ones that I don't think gets talked about nearly enough, and it's so fucking funny. And that is the thing. There is some very dark humor in this movie as well. But it's not so in your face that it's annoying. Easily one of my favorite lines from him, though, is, they're managing the dead body that, he's trying to help these kids out. And, he ends up, I think one of the characters says, like, he basically accuses him of having zero respect for this dead body, which he clearly doesn't. And he says something to the T of, like, what the hell are you talking about? I have just as much respect for the dead as the next guy. And then he looks over at him, and they're trying to put her in the back seat. And he goes, get that disgusting piece of shit out of the back of my car and put her in the trunk, or whatever he says. It's like immediate shift. It's so fucking funny. I'm not doing it justice, but Arlie Ermy has some incredible fucking moments in this movie. In the beginning as well. Not in the beginning. Sorry, in the prequel, which we will review after this, he has some amazing moments in that one too. Overall, Arlie Ermy in this movie is just fucking great. Speaking of humor, we also get some very, very, emotional moments in this movie, which I really, really liked. And I really liked that they added that stuff in there. For instance, Jessica Biel's character talking to her boyfriend about, basically her alluding to the fact of, hey, when are you going to fucking put a ring on it, dude? And, they have a little fun, teasy conversation about it. And her boyfriend is the first guy to die, which I also really like that nod to the original of having what you would think would be the main, strong hero guy be the first one to fucking eat it. And he does, man. He catches that hammer to the head, man, just like the original. And, when Leatherface gets ready to do his thing and cut his face off and yada, 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 something falls out of his pocket. And it's a fucking box, and Leatherface takes it out, and it's a fucking ring. And it's like, oh, dude, it just kind of hits you right here, man. It's like, he was about to propose. Like, that fucking sucks. And I don't think she ever finds out about it in any way. So she'll just never know about that. Like, he was about to fucking propose. The last thing she'll ever see of him is Leatherface literally wearing her boyfriend's face, which I thought was a great touch. We'll get to that later. But yeah, man, there's a lot of cool moments like that that just kind of tug at the heartstrings a little bit. And that's another benefit of having characters that you at least mildly care about, is when shit like that happens, you're like, it just kind of, it stings a little bit more. Why do I like shit like that? Because I'm a fucking weirdo. I don't know. But yeah, man, there's another scene too where poor blonde guy hooking up with the one girl in the back of the van. He has been de-legged. We'll get into his whole very prolonged death. But, you know, that scene of Jessica Biel's character, like, just basically he's like, can you please just kill me? Like, I am so done with this shit. And she does, man. It's a pretty powerful scene, and the blood's falling all over her and stuff. It's some heavy shit, man. There's a couple moments like that in this movie, which I really do admire. Loved the whole ending bit of this movie too. With I love the climax, at least with her and Leatherface being set in the meat factory. I thought that was a fucking genius move. I'm like, why have none of these movies ever even thought of that? You know, it's like their whole thing was they were, you know, employed at the meat factory until it got shut down. So it's like, that's a great place to have a finale. I do wish we had a sequel to this, because as anyone who has seen this knows, she cuts off Leatherface's arm, like at the end of this movie. Man, it's like, holy fuck. Like, I really would have been curious to see what a one-armed Leatherface would be like. You know, would they go full Evil Dead with it and he hooks a chainsaw up to his stump or something stupid like that? Or does he just teach himself how to fucking, you know, use a chainsaw one-handed? Does he have like a hook at the end that he, you know, you can do anything with it. And I really wish we would have gotten a sequel to this. I think it could have been cool. Especially, I like this one. I like the beginning. So, I don't know. I feel like it was kind of a missed opportunity, but, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, so she deals with Leatherface, takes care of him, bingo bango, cuts the arm off, ends up hitching a ride with this semi-truck guy, and I don't know what the deal is with women who have been through a traumatic experience and their only solution to stopping a vehicle and is to just grab the wheel. It's like, you'd think you could at least maybe do something before that to maybe, you know, I don't know. I think there's a better way to convey urgency than just trying to pull this guy off into a ditch. But hey, he eventually stops, and he seeks the help of pretty much the only people in town, the Hewitts. And she sneaks out, and she fucking takes this baby back. And I love the little switch out or the fake out where Sheriff Hoyt is getting ready to, you know, come up on her. I think he has his gun. And it's all raining and shit, and he thinks she's in the truck, where she's actually hot wiring his police car. And, you know, sure enough, he opens the door, she's not there, wham! And she runs over this motherfucker like 3 times. It's fucking gnarly. Really, really good stuff. And I will say, I don't know why none of the Hewitt family came out to help him. Like, it happens right in front of the fucking, you know, shop that they're in. So, I don't know. I guess they were just like, fuck it. He was mean anyways. But yeah, she kills the shit out of him. And as she's pulling off, we get just a little Leatherface dance. Not full on, you know, but we do get a little twirl there from Leatherface. He comes out, tries to saw the car in half. Does not work, obviously. And yeah, he's just kind of standing there all pissed off with a chainsaw in one arm and, you know, not another arm to hold anything else in. That's probably a big reason why he is not a very happy boy. And yeah, man, that'll do it for my review portion of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 03. awesome film. Really, really enjoyed this. Really, really loved talking about it and reviewing it. But you know what we gotta do now, baby. We gotta get into the blood, the guts, and the gory bits. We gotta get into my kill of a film. Stick around. I think a lot of people would assume when they hear Texas Chainsaw Massacre Remake that it would be just this hyper violent, crazy gore fest. And it's definitely way more graphically violent than the original, no doubt. But it's not as bloody and gory as you would think. You know, they kind of held back a little bit. Not as much, like I said, but you know, there's a little bit of restraint, which again, I respect that. You could have easily just had him doing the craziest shit and sawing people from here to here. Shout out to Terrifier. But we don't get that, you know? It's a very subdued movie when it comes to the graphic gore. Not very subdued, though, which I do enjoy as well. So let's get into it. Like I said before, loved the opening... Not opening, but the first kill with... or the first kill of the group, where Kemper, that's his fucking name. I was trying to remember it, and then I nailed it. But yeah, Kemper getting the hammer to the head, watching those old school cartoons as he's sneaking through this fucking house. Easily distracted fella. And what an awesome first appearance for Leatherface. Very, very reminiscent of the original, of just having that first shocking, like, oh, the fuck, there he is. You know, it's like really, really cool stuff there. Really, really liked that. Really enjoyed the feathery chainsaw kill. Again, you know, this movie's pretty subdued with the blood and the guts, but the one kind of hippy-dippy girl who's just kind of tagging along, they met her yesterday kind of thing. She gets tripped up by Leatherface, and she's wearing this big, puffy coat. And when he goes to saw into her, we don't see her head fly apart or anything like that. Again, we're well aware of what's happening to her. But instead of blood flying everywhere, we get all the feathers from her coat just flying everywhere, which was absolutely incredible, especially when Leatherface turns around and you get that reveal that he's wearing Kemper's face and is staring right at Jessica Biel's character, who is Aaron, by the way. I did remember that as well. As far as the rest of these people, I don't fucking know. I think Morgan was another one. But yeah, man. Speaking of Morgan, let's talk about that chainsaw to the fucking dick, dude. Brutal stuff. Absolutely fucking crazy. He hooks him up on the fucking chandelier and just goes right for the nads, man. It's like, holy shit. I like that Leatherface kind of does that, like, stance, too, where he kind of has the, you know, he's kind of having the chainsaw be almost a phallic instrument. I would think that's a little nod to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, where that, you know, whole visual is much more prolonged to a disturbing degree. But anyways, I did like that little nod. At least I like to think it was a nod. But we gotta talk about this prolonged death of young, handsome dude. Can't remember his names. I really need to start writing the character names down, dude. It's embarrassing. But yeah. You know who I'm talking about. It's the fucker who gets his leg cut off. So, there you go. I'm not so bad after all, huh? But yeah, man. He's running away from Leatherface, and he's running through all these sheets, and this awesome... Visually, it looks fucking great. You know, he's running through these sheets, and he fucking just gets completely annihilated. Leatherface comes down, he cuts him off, literally cuts him off at the knee, and just drags this fucker. And his death is easily the worst in this movie. The other people get it fairly quick. I'm not saying it's overtly pleasant or anything like that, but good God, man, this dude spends hours dying. It's fucking grueling. Cuts his leg off, drags him away, hooks him up on a fucking meat hook, packs his fucking leg with salt, like the This open fucking stump, just packs it with salt, wraps it up like it's a fucking pork roast. It's like, oh my god. Crazy stuff. And he ends up just hanging there for like hours until Jessica Biel eventually does come up and stabs him in the stomach, which I thought was like, really? Like, that's just gonna be slow and painful, but his whole death has been slow and painful, so what's a little longer, right? But he does end up dying kind of hilariously quick from a, knife wound to the stomach. But yeah, man, easily the worst fucking death of the movie, and I mean that not as like, it's a bad death. That's not what I mean. Just as far as cruelty, it's probably the worst of the entire movie. Gotta talk about Sheriff Hoyt's death. Again, just getting run over repeatedly with the car. Very satisfying ending for that character because he's just such a fucking piece of shit. I didn't even talk about the scene where he's in the car with Morgan and he basically gets him to, shoot him or be willing to shoot him. Which, credit to Morgan, he was going to blow his fucking head off. But no bullets, no bang bang. But that whole scene with those two is absolutely fucking incredible. Easily, though, the kill of the film for me is actually not a kill necessarily. It is a suicide. That first, death of the movie with that hitchhiker dude. When she realizes she's not gonna they're not gonna turn around and take her where she wants to go. She pulls a gun. Either it was strapped to her thigh, or it was, all up in there. So she pulls out this revolver and just very quickly just puts it in her mouth. Brutal fucking suicide. Just shoots herself right in the mouth. Goes out through the back of her head, through the car, through the rear view window, the rear window, whatever you want to call it. And we get one of the best shots in a fucking horror film that I've seen, still. Where it has all the kids up front freaking the fuck out. Like, what the fuck? And it slowly pans, and the camera pans, and it goes basically inside and out through the back of her head and through the window, and her head just fucking falls forward. I'm like, oh my god! Totally sets the tone for the movie. Absolutely fucking killer stuff. And yeah, man, that'll do it for my review for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. And yeah, dude, awesome fucking movie. Awesome fucking movie. It's just every time I watch this, man, I'm really impressed with how well done of a remake this is. As long as you pay homage to that original movie, but do your own thing and do it well, there's a much higher chance I'm gonna like it. So, for any directors who are, remaking any big property, in case you were wondering, there you go. Anyways, thank you guys as always for stopping by. And next time on Days of Darkness, we are going to be getting a little experimental. We're going to be doing something not different. It's still going to be a movie review, but it's going to be unlike any movie review I've ever done. And we are going to be reviewing the highly talked about, for better or for worse, Skinamarink. I'm very fucking curious to see what I think about this one. I've heard people love it. I've heard people hate it. I know what the film is. I haven't seen it myself. And I'm just very curious to see what I think. And I'm going into it with a completely open mind. And yeah, man, I think it'll be a cool experience. And we'll just have to see. So obviously you can see how excited I am for that. But you do have to wait till next week to go ahead and get that. So until then, guys, as always, thank you for stopping by, supporting me, supporting the dream. I cannot thank you enough. And yeah, man, without further ado, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and for the love of all things gory, keep watching horror. All right, guys, have a good day.